escrow deposit. What is an escrow deposit? Could I buy a property without an escrow deposit? Find out. Is the escrow deposit mandatory? No. You could actually submit an offer without an escrow deposit. But would I actually submit an offer without it? Absolutely not. If you do, your offer will not be considered as a solid or as a legit offer. The escrow deposit, basically, the buyer is telling the seller, listen, I am very serious about purchasing your home. In fact, I'm putting 40, 30, 20, whatever escrow deposit is, in case I back out. That's how serious I am about purchasing the property. However, there are contingencies. So the buyer is saying, I will buy your property as long as my contingencies are met. The most common contingencies that you will have are inspection contingency. The buyer is going to hire an inspector to come in and check the property, make sure property is not falling apart, the electricals are good, and so on. And if there is anything that the buyer is not satisfied with based on their inspection report, he can then back out of the contract as long as it is within the time frame of that inspection phase, and they will submit a release and cancellation, and there's no penalty. He gets his money back. Or he can negotiate and say, hey, Mr. Seller, why don't you go ahead and give me X amount, or can you fix this? But whatever it is, right? That's the contingency. As long as the buyer is satisfied with the result of the inspection report. Other contingency are, for example, appraisal contingency has to pass, or loan commitment. Remember, the buyer is pre-approved, not approved, pre-approved. They got to go through the process on the writer, and at the end, it has to be approved. That's when the loan commitments are. So in each contingency, there are time frames, but again, the escrow deposit is protected by those contingency. You got to keep in mind that once you put an offer, the seller could do two things. Change the status of the listing from active to pending, or from active to active with a contract. Meaning, we have a contract, but I'm willing and able to accept other offers. But regardless, the seller is pretty much taking the property off the market based on that offer. So there has to be something showing that the buyer is committed, is serious about purchasing that property. That's where the escrow deposit is. It's not mandatory, but I will never place an offer without it because it has no weight. The offer has absolutely no weight without it. Another thing is that when the time of closing comes, you have to review your CD or your closing disclosure. In there, you have to verify and ensure that your escrow deposit, whatever amount is, let's say $20,000, that is taken into account, because 100% of that escrow deposit goes into the purchase, towards the purchase of the home. So it's not, the escrow deposit is not an additional money. No, it is basically the money that you need, cash to close, all that calculation, and then they will deduct that escrow deposit, and then the rest you have to come up with as cash to close. But 100% of that escrow goes towards the purchase of your home. I hope that helps. That is the escrow deposit. We do get a lot of questions on that. Why do I have to do that? If you have additional questions that I did not cover, just go ahead, write a question on the comments, and I'll be more than glad to answer those questions. And if you have any other topics that you would like for me to do a short video like this, it'll be my pleasure. Have fun, and in the meantime, happy hunting.